let's go through some of these products. Let's get this ball rolling so we can all get back to our homes. Let's go over some of the basics when using these products. So, all of these products differ, but they all share similarities in how we should use them. Step 1, you want to wear protective gloves, mask, goggles, etc. whenever the safety guidelines say toxic to humans, mammals, or animals. Avoid these altogether if possible. Number 2, know how safe the product is for consumption, for contact, for inhalation before you use it. Know its life or its half-life if it's a product that will stay around for quite a while. Know its remedy for contact, which means if you're using something in the house, you should probably know what to do if somebody drinks it. Know the proper application rate. So, an example, some products you have to measure teaspoons, tablespoons, milliliters. In another instance, some products are ready to use but rated for a certain size room. So let's make sure we're not overusing a product for a very small room that's meant for an entire house worth of use. Know when to stop application. It's very important. Know when it's too far towards harvest, too close to harvest, to continue spraying stuff on your product. As for instance, tomatoes have a thin skin and can absorb the harsher chemicals. Or, if you're using waxy or oiler products, you can wash them off. Flowers you cannot. So, if you're spraying oils or poisons on something that you're going to consume, you need to make sure that you can rinse it off so that it will wear off prior to the point of consumption. Which brings me to the next step. Step 8. Know how to properly rinse products away on consumables. Remember, some have a soft skin or lots of nooks and crannies, like the flowers, which allow a greater chance of product absorption and residual buildup. Some products may dissipate through garden conditions, as for instance, if you're spraying water, if your HIDs are using UV to break those products up off the surface, if you have a high amount of wind and you're using a powdered product. So environmental conditions can help us break down these products. With these products, we're using a lot of different additives that we must also take into consideration. Wetting agents, surfactants, and sticky aids can increase a product's effectiveness, and it can increase its detriment to us. Be aware and be safe. You've worked very hard for this harvest, so let's not ruin it with a possible toxicity. With that, we're going to go to our products and we'll talk a little bit about each one. So, how many of you are familiar with the Safer brand products? Wonderful, we love these. They're ready to use, they're only 10 bucks, they last a while, and they have a myriad of applications and formulations. So this is Yard & Garden. Yard & Garden has pyrethrins and potassium fatty acids. What does that mean to us? Well, potassium fatty acids are the way that we say soap in the plant world. It has a natural soap made of potassium derived from plant or animal tissue. Could be from the tallow of an animal, could be from the tallow of a plant. It has pyrethrins. Pyrethrum is a chemical produced from the oil of chrysanthemum flower. It can be helpful, it can be dangerous. In this instance, certified organic product, the pyrethrins are in a very low concentration, so we're not concerned about possible toxicity to us, plants, animals, anything of that nature. So, a very good product, but again, why is this one different than the others? You see that it says Yard & Garden, because typically we don't eat our yard. That's a good thing, a good visual cue. This is stronger than a normal indoor product because of the combination of fatty acid and pyrethrin. The next product in their lineup, we have their Endol, which contains fatty acids, it contains pyrethrin, and it also has a clarified neem oil. Are any of you guys familiar with neem oil? So, neem has two major forms. neem oil, and just plain neem. And I know you're thinking, well, okay, neem oil comes from the oil of a pressed seed. How does plain neem differ? Plain neem is just pulverized dried leaf. So, pulverized dried neem leaf is very mellow. It's very less toxic to us, even honeybees. It's non-toxic to honeybees. So, whereas the oil made from the crushed or pressed seeds is much stronger, much higher in the alkaloids, which can be detrimental to living things. So, Andal is typically what I keep at my house. It is my last resort. It's like the Raid can. It's as nasty as I can get, but still be organic. Kills ants, kills bees, wasps, you name it. Really good. $10. Safer 3-in-1. This product is made so that we can use it as a pesticide and as a fungicide when we start to see those kinds of pests. This has a combination of the fatty acids, which again is akin to soap, and it has sulfur, elemental sulfur. Sulfur will basically retard the ability of a fungus to take root in your garden. Through sulfur, you're protecting yourself from mold, from fungus, and from a pretty big host of pests. Sulfur is one of the most common elements that we've used for years and years and years in greenhouses. It's cheap, I can cover everything, and it will also be dual purpose. Here we see their garden fungicide, which is nothing more than just the sulfur. Really gets to the matter at hand. I've used this so many times in veg because I'll be in and out of the bloom room. The veg room, it stays a little more cooped up than I would like. So common that I'll have to spray the teenagers and the clones with this because they'll get a little bit of mold taking root on their leaves. Last in the safer lineup, we have Caterpillar Killer. And that sounds and looks pretty daunting in my eyes. What this is, though, is just beneficial bacteria. I could pour this whole thing on my hand and have no concerns. This is just a beneficial bacteria, which, just as though it would help our root zone in case it drips in there, it will destroy the surface area of a soft-bodied pest like a caterpillar, a larvae, maggot, things of that nature. And it's basically like a dry skin type of a thing. You are going to give it an extreme case of eczema, it's going to wipe it right out. Moving onward, we go into our aerosols. Most of our aerosol products are typically a pyrethrin or pyrethronoid base. They're a chrysanthemum-based product. This is because it kills a wide range of pests, so that's why they're so popular. We have the Spider Mite Knockout. This is a ready to use, just like Rid. I point, I click, I attack what I'm seeing. Then when I'm done, I recap it, under the shelf it goes. Now again, you want to watch when you're using pyrethrins, because you do not want to consume these. The good thing about pyrethrins is that they're UV sensitive, and what that means is, if I spray this tomato plant right here, within 2 weeks of being under a garden light or under the sun, that UV is going to break this product off the surface, so I'm not going to consume it. The next in the line of aerosols, foggers. How many of us have used a fogger? This fogger contains pyrethrin and piperonyl butoxide. I get that question a lot. What is piperonyl butoxide, Ted? Much like we have an antioxidant defense in our bodies, insects have an enzymatic antioxidant response. They touch poison, the enzymes go nuts in their production, trying to purge it out of the body before it can kill them. So, with the additional piperonyl butoxide, it allows that enzymatic response to be subdued long enough for the pyrethrin, the poison in this chemical, to attack and do its job. So, again, foggers, pyrethrins, 2 weeks, HID, and it wears off. So you want to only use it up to 2 weeks before harvest at the very most. This is a 5,000 square foot fogger. While it's only $13, this is enough for all of our houses combined. So, want to watch for that. Make sure you're using the recommended size. 5,000 square foot is huge. Here's the baby brother of the same. Even this little baby, $10. This is a 3,000 square foot fogger. So this is typically going to be more than you need. A lot of people still choose to use it on thinking that when pesticide is concerned, as long as we're far enough from harvest, a little more is a little more. So, but keep that in mind. Any of these foggers, we want to use 3 feet from the nearest plant so that the residue doesn't build up on the plants, because that much residue will not be removed by HIDs. It will still have a tackiness come harvest time. So watch for these, watch for the amount of room they're recommended for. I know what you're thinking. This looks like the even littler brother. No. This white label with a packet included on the instructions, this is a commercial fogger. We sell these. They're readily available everywhere. Again, for 3,000 square foot usage. How does this differ from the little red guy, which is also 3,000? This has 0.4% of pyrethrum. This has 4% pyrethrum. So while this is twice as much, it's twice as strong. So watch out for that. Moving forward from there, we have neem and neem-based products. I have a few of these here. Let's see, we'll have them. Here's our basic, right here, neem. Neem is the oil in this product. It's oil produced from crushing seeds. Much like grapes, they're pressed many, many times, and the combined pressings are then accumulated into this bottle. So what that means is multiple pressings within this bottle, multiple wine varieties, if you will, within this bottle. This is probably $10, $20. It's solid as a rock inside of there, but still fresh and ready to use. It's so oily and waxy. Typically you want to submerge this in a sink full of hot water so it goes liquidy, so then you can meter it out. Next in the neem line, we have Einstein oil. As you can see, this has a differing color. You see white, yellow, waxy, fatty parts, and you see brown, dark, oily parts. This neem oil is made from the first pressing, the first extraction of neem seeds. So, multiple pressings, first pressing. This is going to be a much cleaner to us and much more effective in usage because of the strength of the product. This has all of the fat with it. This is all just the oil after I've done it 1,000 times. So, Einstein oil, if you're going to use neem, a much stronger alternative for you. Going up in strength, Azamax, also known as Azatrol. Think of the neem oil that we have in this bottle, which again is absolutely non-liquid. If I take that product and I put it through a solvent bath, meaning a alcohol or gasoline, something of this nature, something that thins oil, to concentrate it. I thin it, I concentrate it by boiling. That's what we have with this. So you can see in here, much more viscous. With that viscosity comes a greater usage, a greater effectiveness, and also a greater responsibility. It's going to get everywhere, it's going to coat everywhere. This product is oil-based. So depending upon your method of consumption, you may or may not be able to rinse oils off of your product. You definitely would not then want to consume oils in a varying amount of consumption methods. So think about cooking oils, cleaner oils, dirtier oils. So moving right along, we go right into SM90. How many of you know what SM90 is? This is like the secret underground pesticide. Doesn't anywhere on the bottle say pesticide or fungicide. Inside of this bottle is coriander oil, which is cilantro, is canola oil, which is a genetically modified corn oil, and a little bit of an amine to stick them together. By using this product, you can spray or water in a pesticidal or fungicidal attribute. Many people will use this as a wetting agent, as it's marketed. A multi-purpose wetting agent. Yeah, no, it's a pesticide. But you can combo it with less viscous pesticides to get a better application rate. This product typically is found in my garden at all times as a safety. The reason being that if I have insects and I'm so close to harvest, I can water this in, it will go into the plant, and it will ward them out from the inside out. But again, a lot of people have a lot of reservations about using any product that is labeled systemic. Anything that goes into the plant, which I then later will consume, of course there's a concern for that. So, and if that's your concern, then I recommend Mighty Wash. Mighty Wash, man, when I first got this, I was working in an indoor garden supply in Aurora, formerly affiliated with us. And all of us professional gardeners, and we were reading the ingredients on this. Water, 99.8335%. Inert ingredients, 0.1665%. Okay, wait, so it's 94% water, and the remaining percentage is inert. So, of course, we were skeptical. But what is actually within this package is water which has been molecularly aligned. So what that means is I've taken an electrode, either gold or silver, put it into the water, made the water all run through it. What that does is similar to if you'll visualize a DNA double helix, it will molecularly align things in the helix so that they can be absorbed better. You know what I mean? Much like humic acids do for our fertilizers. So this has that kind of water, a charged water, positively charged, and a little bit of a natural surfactant, which means soap. So because of the charge in the water, that repels insects. Because of the surfactant, it's total coverage. So that soap in and of itself, just like in some of these other soapy products, will fight fungus and will fight mold. This can be used up to the day of harvest because it's so much water. So I know what you're thinking, 94% water, so is it snake oil? You know what I mean? I sell this in 5-gallon sizes. It actually works quite well. I used it, we had a tropical plant with great glaucous leaves, very waxy looking leaves that you would think would never be attacked by pests. But because we were in a garden supply, somebody brought in spider mites. The entire tropical plant had the webbing around it, making it look like the Eiffel Tower. One application of this, and you could physically see them dying. And again, 94% water, I can use it up to the day of harvest. So very, very handy. About 12 bucks for that. Tanglefoot. Tanglefoot is a very different manner of approach for insect control. Tanglefoot is a very sticky substance. Typically I would squeeze it out, wipe a line of it around the rim of my pot. Anything that gets stuck in this, it's like a gelled flypaper. Basically they're trapped, they die due to starvation or dehydration. This is very common for people to use in a large garden environment. They'll just go by, wipe each pot, they'll know that it won't be jumping from one pot to the next, contaminating. So, an easy, simple fix right there. Going up from there, we go into botanical oils. So many times botanical or animal oils will be used as an alternative to chemicals because they can be very effective. I have here a product by Ed Rosenthal called Zero Tolerance. Zero Tolerance of both varieties ultimately is a mix of botanical oils. You've got clove, you've got cinnamon, you've got thyme, you've got rosemary, all of which will act as a natural deterrent for pests, and in this case, more importantly, funguses. So for my squash, for my flowers, for everything, by spraying this botanical oil, I'm using it as a preventative. Nothing is going to fester with all of that clove in the mix. Here's the same product, slightly different mix of those same herbs to fight pests. This one has a little bit more cinnamon, a little bit more rosemary. It's a little hotter to the pests, if you will. So these are really good. They're an organic alternative, but again, they are oil-based. So think about your product. Think about the method of consumption that you use for your product. Then you'll know whether or not how late you can use these botanical oils. Also, I have SNS 217, another similar one. This one is sodium lauryl sulfate and rosemary oil, which is a wetting agent, or a soap ultimately to deliver the rosemary oil. Moving right along in nastiness, Organocide. Organocide does fungus, it does pests, it does run you right out of the room after you spray it. This product, instead of botanicals, has some other things. Sesame oil, edible fish oil, and lecithin. Lecithin, again, a soap. But fish oil. So imagine you fermenting sardines in a bottle, and that's what you'll get when you spray this. But that pungency will run off a great amount of plants, a great amount of pests, I should say. And again, we always look for the OMRI certification, organic, so I know that it's not going to be a detriment to me. But as an oil-based product, I'm not going to use it on my flowers or anything else like that that would be compromised by an application of oil. Simple fixes. Diatomaceous earth. How many of you are familiar with this product? Diatomaceous earth is basically fossilized particulate of ancient creatures, tiny little creatures called diatoms, which typically form in a diamond fashion. And with the powder of their remnants, it's a white powder, high in silica. What it does is it works like broken glass. I topically apply this, and anything that walks across it will literally be cut to ribbons, and then will exsanguinate or dehydrate or bleed out as a result. I own a ranch, as I've talked about before. You could feed this product to the cows, dogs, horses. Zero detriment or toxicity, but if they had any worms or anything inside of them, this would flush it all out. This is what this is typically used for, is to fight larvae and flies, subterra, or to worm animals. So very, very, very handy, but again, with a high silica comes a high pH, so watch for that. OMRI certified as well, food grade certified as well. Sulfur, raw elemental sulfur. As we talked about, if I put this into a smelting can, also known as a sulfur pot, it will heat up and excite, and when the fumes reach the rest of the class, they would run all the fungus off of all of us. So this is the most common use in a greenhouse for flowers. If you get fungus, you hang a little pail, it heats up the sulfur, the rotten egg smell fills the greenhouse, but runs every bit of pest and fungus out of the greenhouse with no actual detriment. Another one that I want to discuss, mosquito dunks. Have you guys seen these? So mosquito dunks were initially developed so that you could throw them into a pond that was a stagnant pond, so that you wouldn't get the larvae buildup of mosquitoes and flies and whatnot. We use them in our environment in the same way. It is simply a compressed body of beneficial bacteria, specifically an aggressive bacteria, Bacillus thuringiensis, which actually will attack any soft-bodied pests or funguses. So when you have a really bad infestation in hydro, you put this in the water. If you have a stagnant pond near the garden, put this in the water. So no damage to us, very much damage to small things. Sticky traps. Everybody knows sticky traps. Fly paper. Fly paper is one color. Sticky traps come in blue and yellow. And the reason for these cards is so that they will attract the insects that are attracted to this color. So this one is a sticky for thrips, leaf miners, and aphid trap. The yellow one is more for fungus gnats, white flies, and some aphids as well. So keep that in mind. Colors are important as to fighting the battle for the specific pests. Moving down the line of our arsenal, we come along to our organic copper sulfate spray. Copper. Copper's great. Copper we can use in anything that doesn't touch fish. It doesn't hurt us, doesn't hurt the dogs, doesn't hurt the kids, but fish are a little bit more susceptible to it. If you think about copper, think about the Eiffel Tower. Not the Eiffel Tower, I'm sorry, the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is actually copper, not green. Green is the oxidation on the outside. So the power of this can stop funguses in their tracks. But again, if you're doing aquaculture where your plants are fed by an aquarium or pond, you want to stay away from this just because it can hurt the delicate fish that are in your environment. Another product, Green Cure. Green Cure is a bicarbonate product, potassium bicarbonate. Arm & Hammer baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, which when we mix into water and spray on leaves, can pH adjust a leaf. It's a base, so it raise the pH in such a way that nothing could take root. You know what I mean? The problem with Arm & Hammer is that it's a salt, so that salt stays on the leaves. This being a potassium bicarbonate, it is actually absorbed by the plants as well, so no residual buildup from this. Really good organic alternative for fighting fungus. Another product that I sell for the control of garden diseases is a Serenade. I can turn it this way and you see that it's got the OMRI certification. Serenade, again, is a liquid Bacillus subtilis. So, many different varieties of mycorrhizae, Bacillus thuringiensis, Bacillus subtilis. Well, what does that all mean? Thuringiensis is a very aggressive strain of bacteria. It seeks out things to kill. Subtilis is a repairing variety. It will go in and find a root that has turned yellow or brown or slimy. It will clean it off. It will restore it to its proper state. It will make only good fungus inhabit in the root zone. So, very good product for leaf and for the root zone to fix fungal blight. Another common product for fungal blight, the OMRI certified Hygrozyme. Hygrozyme is one of the only actual enzymes on the market that you can use. And I have this question a lot, well Ted, enzyme sounds cool, but what does that mean to me? Are you familiar with a sanitation chamber, what do you call it when you have a tank, what do you call it? When you live in a trailer, I'm at a loss for words.
Septic.
Thank you. Jeez, I don't know what happened to that, guys. Edit that out, please. Septic tank. So in a septic tank, waste goes into the septic tank is perforated, slowly it leaks out. But over time, the buildup can outweigh the perforations. So then we use an enzymatic cleaner, which goes in and eats it all down into a lesser material. That's what this Hygrozyme does. This bottle will be as good in 30 years as it is today, because inside of it, it's maintaining that if anything degrades, it eats what degrades. So by adding this into our water, while darkening the water, it will eat every bad fungus out of our root zone, whether hydro or soil, and as a byproduct, will then stimulate it. Hygrozyme has saved millions of dollars of crops. So when they're dying, they're wilting, their roots are stinky, slimy, Hygrozyme, my friends. In keeping with the beneficial bacteria, I have Zoe, which contains a lot of the trichoderma bacteria and a lot of the glomulus bacteria. And I have Plant Success, which is also a giant combination of bacteria. So these can be added into the soil or hydro to fix the root zone, but when used as a foliar, will eat mold right off the plant with no detriment. So, beneficial bacteria again, and both, of course, recertified. So, moving down the line, we get further and further into, I don't want to say home remedies, but different fixes. Garlic. There is nothing in this bottle but putrid garlic and citric acid. Just, oh man, I won't need to eat for hours now. So, but by using this, we can ward off pests who dine on our leaves and foliage and flowers. We can fight funguses, and we can fight pests such as, I don't know, flies, mites, things of that nature. But again, garlic oil. My God, people, garlic oil. So keep that in mind depending upon your method of consumption. Go Gnats is typically used for fungus gnats. It's a concentrate. I spray the soil with it. I water it in. It uses cedar oil. just like our cedar closets that fight moths, gonads. Gets in the water, repels anything in the water. Typically it's non-toxic to us or to plants. Overusage can prove a little bit of toxicity in the form of blocking roots, like coating roots. So you'll see a yellowing if you go too far with this one. Right here. Now this one